Hi guys, I am so sorry that I didn't get this video out earlier. I meant to do this last weekend and get it up. I can't even remember why that didn't happen. I think I've just been losing track of time this September. September is going by so quickly. I was actually just at a history conference all day long, a Constitution Day conference at the Reagan Library, and I had to bring Jensen with me because daycare or babysitting fell through, so I had a 1-year-old at this all-day conference, so I'm exhausted, but I need to film this video for you and edit it and put it up as soon as I possibly can. Every year I mean to make a video about the 9/11 lesson that I do, and I think it's just becoming increasingly important to do a really good 9/11 lesson because our kids officially were not alive for this. They weren't born. Their parents probably remember, where they were, but I don't know if every family talks about it, so they do need to hear it from us. Our school did a flip grid, and they just asked all the teachers to make a quick flip grid about, where they were on 9/11 on that day, and just what changed for them and what they remember from that time. So I did that, and I'm gonna have my kids just do that on their own time, I think, watch those through if they want to. But ever since I've been teaching, I've done the same lesson and I love it, and I think I cry every year, and it's quite simple, and I can link everything below, so I thought I would just share this with you. So I start off by showing them a YouTube video of just the news that was on that morning, and I'll leave a link to that video, but you definitely want to have the video pre-ready, because now when you search 9/11 footage or whatever, you can come across some really strange stuff. You can come across some conspiracy theories and things, so you want to make sure that you have the right video just so that you don't waste precious time on that day. It's kind of a somber day, but the kids don't really understand why, and so I just think you kind of need to get right into this is what happened. And so I show some of this video. I think the one that I like is 28 minutes long or something, so of course I don't show the whole thing. But it starts off just with a couple of morning news shows, and people are in a good mood and they're happy, and they say it's September 11th, 2001, that's not a day that's gonna live in infamy. And then there are clips of people, cutting off the person they were interviewing and realizing that there's breaking news, and you hear the confusion in their voices and how they really don't understand what's happening. And most of these are East Coast or New York stations, and you see clips of what's happening. Obviously there wasn't footage of the first tower because nobody was videotaping the Twin Towers just for fun, but then there's footage of that second plane hitting the second tower, and so I show that for a little while, maybe the first 5 to 7 minutes, and then we have a quick discussion. I answer a limited amount of questions. I might have them write them on Verso, and if you haven't used Verso yet, I really like that. It's versoapp.com, and it's free, and your kids can use it, and it's anonymous. When they write something, they're just a number. It doesn't show their name, but you as the teacher can see their names. But if I project it up on the screen, I can just put it on student view so that not everybody sees all the student names. But maybe I'll have them do that this year, and I'll just answer a couple of key questions about the details of the attack. But I don't want to dwell on that too much because I like to get into the next part of my lesson, and that's where I think kids learn the most important details about what happened that day. And this is the lesson that I love, and this resource is still out there, so I will link it for you. So I'm an avid Real Simple magazine reader. I love Real Simple magazine, and in 2011 they published an issue, and it had this amazing article in it called "I Will Remember You," and it was memoirs from family members and friends. They're really powerful. Even just thinking about them brings up emotions from that day and from just the things that they lost. So these people write a memoir 10 years later, remembering the person that they lost. And so they write a little bit about their daughter, or their son, or their brother, or their sister, or their husband, or whoever it was that they lost, and the details. Some Some of them were in the Pentagon or in the World Trade Center or just on one of the planes. And they give a little bit about that, and then they just write about what they do to honor that person's memory. So there are short little stories. I think there are maybe 12. So back in 2011, when I read this article in this magazine, I saved it. I knew I would want to save that issue forever. And I think I started teaching in 2012. I think that was my first year. So I made copies of each page, and I have like numbers on them, so I know, kind of who has which one. So I give every kid just one story to read. And this is a silent activity. I give them about 10 minutes to read through the story. They're really not that long. And then I've been doing this on Google Classroom where you can just have them write it down. But I just have them write down like a summary, like who was this person that died and how did they die? What were some of the details surrounding their death, and what do people who love them do to remember them? So really they learn a lot about what happened on 9/11 just through these personal stories. I think this year I'm just going to do it in my English classes, and I'll do something a little bit different with my history classes because I have just a handful of kids that are in 6th grade English and 6th grade history with me, and they get a little bit annoyed if they have to do the same thing twice. So I might use the vocabulary 9/11 resources for my history class and look a little bit more at like the historical facts surrounding the day, just because I've never even really done it from that perspective. I always do it from such a personal perspective. And this is just really a reading and writing exercise. So they read these stories, they summarize, they find main details, and then with any time left, I ask if anybody was particularly touched by any of the stories and if they'd like to read it out loud. And I usually have 2 or 3 kids that read the story out loud. They're not, real high reading level. It's just people writing their memories. So it's in fairly conversational language. Sometimes the kids cry because there's one like of a girl who lost her sister. There's one guy who is an Angels fan, and his brother was an Angels fan, and they used to always go to Angels games, and a lot of our kids are Angels fans. So it's kind of a heavy day. I think I also used to end it with kind of like an emotional video that showed a little bit of footage and had like a song playing in the background, but I can't remember the video. If I can find it on YouTube, again, I will link that below, and then I'll try and remember to use it for my class. But I don't really know exactly how I feel about this yet, but for this year, I think that I'm just gonna spend the one day on this topic. Like on Friday, I guess I could have like front loaded a little bit of this and it could extend into Tuesday, but I think I'm just gonna make it one day. Like this is the day when we're gonna allow ourselves to be sad, and we're gonna remember people who were lost, and we're gonna honor people who helped and were first responders. And then tomorrow, we're going to go back to our curriculum, and we're going to continue, to learn what we need to learn for 8th grade or 6th grade. And so I think I am just going to contain it in that one day, although it's a little tough because this could take a while, and we could talk about it for a long time, but each year, they're probably getting a little bit of that. And then since I'm doing it in my English classes, I know that in their history classes, they're also going to be getting a little bit more background information. We had a history department meeting and decided that we would be the ones that day to take on like the 9/11 lessons. So that's why I'm doing a little bit more of like just the historical side, and a little bit more of like the facts and details with my history classes. But I really think it's powerful to continue telling stories about these people and to continue like personal narratives and to not forget about those things. I love this lesson. It's nothing very complicated. You can just go to the link that I'll provide below and just go to that real simple article and just print them, hand them out to your kids. You could even just give them the link and let them scroll and choose their own story. Actually, I think I usually let them choose their story as I hand them out. Like I just give a stack to like a group, and they can take the one that they want and choose to read whichever one they want. So it gives them a little bit of choice, and then it's just a very powerful lesson. And it's a solemn day, and I think that's fine. Every so often, you just have those days. Okay, so I'm gonna edit this and I'm gonna put it up because I want you to have some resources. You probably already have something planned because it's the Saturday before the Monday that is 9/11, but just in case there's anybody out there that was kind of at a loss of like how to handle this, how do I you know, reach out to my students with this information, and how do I not get too political or too dramatic, or like sometimes, you know, these things that are national tragedies are just hard to find an entry point into, but I think the stories of real people who really experienced loss is a really good way to go. So I hope you enjoy these resources. Let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye.